Ladies and gentlemen, there is a truth so profound, so radiant in its simplicity, that once grasped, it changes the course of one's life forever. Speak this sentence and money will find you. What sentence is this? It is not just a phrase but a decree, a spiritual command that moves unseen forces into action. But before we speak it, we must understand this. Your word is your wand. You do not beg the universe. You command it, not with arrogance, but with divine authority. Every word you speak sets unseen wheels into motion. When you speak of lack, you summon lack. When you declare wealth, you awaken wealth already waiting for you. Money does not come because you chase it. Money comes because you are aligned with the law of supply. This law is as real as gravity and it never fails. You are not meant to struggle, you are meant to receive. The only thing standing between you and the flow of prosperity is the gatekeeper of your own thoughts and words. When fear whispers, "I don't have enough," you must shout back with truth. When the world says, "There's not enough to go around," you declare, "There is no lack in divine mind. My supply is abundant, immediate, and unfailing." This sentence, when spoken with conviction, becomes a key, a spiritual password. It unlocks doors that seem closed. It sends invisible messengers ahead of you to prepare the way. It turns the tide. Let me say it again, and this time say it with me. There is no lack in divine mind. My supply is abundant, immediate, and unfailing. Say it in the morning when you rise. Say it when doubt creeps in. Say it as you walk into a meeting, open a bill, or look at your bank balance. Say it until your bones believe it. The money is already on its way. The idea is already being formed. The opportunity is already circling your name. Speak this sentence and money will find you. Not because of luck, but because you finally stopped hiding from your own power. Thank you. There is no creative force on earth more underestimated than the spoken word. We've been taught to guard our actions, to mind our behaviors, and to choose our paths carefully. But rarely are we taught that the very words we speak are the first seeds of those actions, behaviors, and paths. Words are not idle. Words are not mere sound. They are vibrations of power, shaping the invisible substance of life into form. Every word spoken is a declaration, a blueprint issued from the architect of consciousness. And consciousness does not sleep. It listens, it obeys, it follows instructions. The words you speak, whether in joy, fear, faith, or anger, are not lost in the air. They do not dissolve. Instead, they become commands sent out into the world, shaping your reality with exacting precision. When a person says, "I never have enough," the law of the spoken word answers back. As you say, so shall it be. When someone declares, "A money always slips through my fingers," the universe does not argue. It arranges itself to fulfill the prophecy. The law is mechanical, not emotional. It doesn't consider your intentions, it responds to your vibrational instruction, and your words are its clearest directive. This is not mysticism for the sake of magic. This is spiritual law. Just as the law of gravity ensures that what rises must fall, the law of the spoken word ensures that what is spoken in faith becomes form. Your life reflects your language. If you want to change the pattern, you must first change the pronunciation of your thoughts, your inner and outer speech. To speak deliberately is to create deliberately. When you speak of abundance, you plant the seed of abundance in the soil of the unseen. When you say, "I am a magnet for divine wealth," you are not merely wishing, you are calling, you are summoning. You are instructing the universal forces to shift in your favor. But here lies the mystery and the warning. Most people speak unconsciously. They rehearse the same lines day after day, unaware that these casual, habitual statements are composing the script of their lives. "I can't afford that. Money is tight. Things never work out for me." These phrases may seem harmless. After all, they're just words, right? Wrong. They are invitations to experience lack extended with your own voice. Every time you speak of limitation, you lend it your creative power. You breathe life into the very condition you wish to avoid. Words are the vehicle through which faith or fear travels into form. If you speak fear, you give it direction. If you speak faith, you give it momentum. Now here's the great secret. You don't need to feel brave or wealthy or lucky in order to speak words of power. You simply need to choose different words. Faith is not the absence of doubt. It is the decision to speak truth over appearances. Say, "Money comes to me in expected and unexpected ways." Say, "Every bill I receive is already paid in divine mind." Say, I walk in the rhythm of prosperity, and all that is mine flows to me with ease. At first, it may feel false. Your eyes may still see scarcity. Your ears may still hear fear. But as you persist in speaking the language of abundance, the old patterns begin to unravel. The subconscious begins to listen. And once it is reprogrammed with new speech, it starts to expect wealth rather than resist it. You must not wait for the evidence to arrive before you speak. Speaking the word of power is not a reaction to visible wealth. It is the cause of visible wealth. This is the inversion of worldly logic. The world says, "Speak what you see." But spiritual law says, "Speak what you seek, and it shall appear." Many live as if their words were powerless, forgetting that the universe was spoken into being. The first act of creation was not physical, it was vibrational, it was the word. And you, as a spiritual being created in that same image, possess that very tool. Not metaphorically, literally, your words create substance from spirit. So what will you choose to speak today? Will you continue to narrate your struggles? Will you echo the language of limitation passed down to you? Or will you rise and claim your right to speak a new financial reality into existence? Because the moment you decide with full conviction to align your words with divine truth, everything begins to move. Circumstances shift, doors open, delay dissolves. The substance of wealth, which has always been around you, suddenly begins to recognize your voice. Words are not just descriptions of your reality, they are decrees to your destiny. Would you like to proceed with expansions for the other points as well? There is an eternal river that flows through the universe, an invisible current of supply, abundance, and perfect provision. It knows no drought, no lack, no interruption. It flows whether you recognize it or not, whether you believe in it or not. It is the great, ceaseless stream of divine substance from which all forms of wealth and material blessings are drawn. This supply does not come from a job, a paycheck, a bank, or a business. Those are merely channels, not sources. The true source is spiritual. It is infinite. It cannot be exhausted, depleted, or destroyed. And it is always present, here, now, waiting to be acknowledged. Most people live disconnected from this stream, not because it has abandoned them, but because they have shut their eyes to it. They believe in the economy more than they believe in divine principle. They place their faith in numbers on a screen instead of the eternal supply encoded in the laws of the universe. You were never meant to earn your living by toil alone. Your provision was never intended to be chained to hours worked or effort exerted. You are not a servant of systems. You are an heir to divine substance. Supply is your birthright. It is not earned. It is claimed. The divine never withholds. It only waits for recognition. When you say, "There is no lack in divine mind," you are not wishing. You are remembering. You are reconnecting with the truth that was always so, that there is enough for everyone, including you. There is no competition in spiritual supply. There is no shortage, no deficit, no scarcity. One person's abundance does not diminish another's. You do not need to take from anyone to have your portion. The law of divine supply is based on expansion, not limitation. When you understand this, you stop striving and start receiving. You stop begging and start declaring. You no longer chase money. You align with the flow of abundance that is already in motion. But to access this supply, your consciousness must match it. Just as a radio must be tuned to the correct frequency to receive a broadcast, so must your mind be attuned to the vibration of plenty. If you live in thoughts of fear, anxiety, or doubt, you create static, interference, in the signal. You block the flow not because the supply has stopped, but because you have closed the channel. The divine does not force itself upon you. It waits patiently for the moment you remember. My supply is not limited by appearances. You may be in debt. You may have lost a job. You may feel stuck. But none of these outer conditions define your true source. They are temporary expressions. And every expression can be replaced, transformed, elevated. Once you return to principle, you are not a victim of circumstances. You are a creator with access to the storehouse of infinite good. There are channels of money, opportunity, ideas, and support lining up right now, unseen but active, waiting for you to open the door through faith. Say aloud, my supply is abundant, immediate, and unfailing. Say it not as a wish, but as a truth. Not because you see evidence, but because you recognize the principle. Divine supply is not on delay. It is not a coming one day. It is here. And the more you affirm this, the more it manifests in tangible ways. A check in the mail, a canceled debt, a new client, a spontaneous gift, an inspired idea that opens doors. These are not coincidences. They are the fruits of alignment. And alignment requires you to stop speaking the language of limitation. If you say, "I don't know how I'll pay this bill," you slam the door. But when you say, "The divine plan includes perfect provision for every need," the universe begins to rearrange itself in your favor. Do not concern yourself with the how. The supply knows its own channels. Your job is not to control the process, but to trust the principle. And the principle is this: there is always more. There is always enough. There is always supply. The same intelligence that grows the forests and directs the stars has already accounted for your needs. It has already placed the answers along your path. But you must rise above fear and tune into the truth of abundance. Scarcity is not spiritual. It is man-made. It is rooted in belief, not fact. And like all beliefs, it can be changed. Speak the truth of divine supply until it becomes more real to you than any financial report, any unpaid bill, or any momentary setback. The supply is flowing. It has always been flowing. Would you like point 3 expanded next in the same tone and length? The mind, left unguided, will return again and again to old patterns, to fear, worry, doubt, and the weary narratives of lack. It is not because you are weak, unworthy, or broke. It is simply that the mind, like a field, grows what is planted in it. And most have been sowing seeds of scarcity for years. But there is a sacred law, gentle and powerful, available to all who are ready to reclaim their inner dominion. It is the law of substitution. The principle that you cannot think two opposing thoughts at the same time. One thought must take the place of the other. Just as darkness disappears the moment you switch on the light, fear dissolves when you introduce faith. Worry evaporates when replaced by truth. You cannot dwell on lack and expect to manifest abundance. You cannot speak about debt all day and then declare prosperity at night and expect the tide to turn. One vibration cancels out the other. The stronger one always wins. The law of substitution is not theoretical. It is immediate and exact. You do not fight fear directly. You do not argue with lack or try to resist doubt. Resistance gives energy to what you resist. Instead, you replace the limiting thought with its opposite truth. When the thought comes, "There's not enough," you don't try to reason with it. You declare calmly and firmly, "There is always more than enough." Divine supply meets every need. When the fear whispers, "I won't be able to pay this," you don't argue with the fear. You substitute it with, "All financial obligations are met with ease and on time through divine channels." Every time a thought of limitation arises, substitute it with a thought of truth. Not once, not occasionally, but every time. This is not about denial. It is about retraining the inner landscape, and it takes persistence. Just as an untrained body cannot lift heavy weights on the first day, a mind saturated in scarcity must be gently and repeatedly guided into truth. The law of substitution is not about pretending. It is about choosing which voice you allow to speak through you. Every moment is a crossroads. You can either give your energy to the voice of limitation or to the voice of infinite good, but you cannot serve both at once. You must become so saturated in the language of abundance that scarcity has no more room to dwell. You speak prosperity not just when it feels good, but especially when it feels least true. That is the test and the triumph of spiritual mastery. When appearances seem contrary, you do not flinch. You do not collapse. You substitute. You say, "Though I walk through the valley of apparent lack, I fear no shortage, for divine supply goes before me. There is no fear in divine mind, and I am one with divine mind. I am governed not by man's economy, but by spiritual law which is infallible." Every one of these affirmations is more than a phrase. It is a tool, a torch, a weapon of light that clears the fog of old beliefs. The more you use them, the more they imprint your subconscious, and the subconscious is the soil where all your outer experiences take root. You have spoken lack long enough. You have entertained thoughts of unworthiness, limitation, and struggle for years, perhaps passed down through generations. But the moment you begin to substitute those thoughts with divine truth, the patterns begin to unravel. Do not fear the old thoughts when they arise. Do not shame yourself for feeling doubt. The mind will return to its habits, but now you are awake. You are no longer reacting, you are choosing. You are no longer a prisoner of fear, you are its replacement. This is a spiritual discipline, and every master of abundance has walked this path. They did not get there by luck or talent. They got there by consistent substitution, by repeating the truth so often that it became the dominant voice within. Substitution is a sacred act. It is the moment you choose to align with a higher law, even when the lower law screams louder. It is the moment you look at an empty wallet and say, "There is more where this came from." It is the moment you receive a bill and smile, knowing the funds are already accounted for in divine mind. You are not obligated to think the thoughts that appear. You are not bound by your first reaction. You are free in every moment to replace fear with faith, doubt with confidence, worry with assurance. The law of substitution guarantees that one thought must go when the other is held with conviction. The truth does not need to scream. It simply needs to be spoken again until it becomes the new default. You do not need 100 affirmations. You need one true sentence, spoken often, felt deeply, believed fiercely. The reason most people do not see results is not because the law fails. It is because they speak truth once and then cancel it with days of worry, fear, and contradiction. Every time you declare, "My supply is abundant, immediate, and unfailing," you cast a vote for truth. You shift the momentum away from lack and into divine sufficiency. You train your mind to expect miracles. You signal to the universe that you are ready, willing, and open to receive. Eventually, that sentence becomes more than words. It becomes your consciousness. You wake up with it. You walk in it. You make decisions from it. And as your inner world conforms to it, your outer world must follow. Because the outer is always a mirror, a reflection of what you dare to speak and believe within. Would you like point 5 next in the same tone and length? There is a divine secret known to all who have learned to manifest with ease, grace, and certainty. It is this: what you desire must be claimed as already yours, not in theory, not in hope, but in being. You must act, walk, speak, and decide as though the very thing you seek has already been delivered. Spiritual law is precise. It does not respond to desperation. It does not respond to pleading. It responds to alignment, and alignment begins with assumption. When you act as though your good is already accomplished, you shift from asking to receiving, from wishing to knowing, from doubt to dominion. This is not pretending. This is not ignoring your reality. It is something far more powerful. It is recognizing that the seen is always the final result, not the cause. The cause of all things is unseen: thought, word, and consciousness. When you align your inner world with the truth of abundance, your outer world must catch up. It has no choice. But here is where many fall short. They speak affirmations with their mouths, but walk through life with the posture of fear. They say, "I am prosperous," yet they shrink from opportunity, avoid generosity, and make decisions based on lack. There is no condemnation in this, only a gentle call to correction. For the law responds not to occasional words, but to sustained belief. You must live as though the thing is done. When you speak the sentence, "My supply is abundant, immediate, and unfailing," the work is not finished. You must then act in accordance with it. You must become the version of yourself who already has what you seek. If you had no financial fear, how would you walk into a room? If you knew all your bills were already covered, how would you answer the phone? If your bank account overflowed with divine supply, how would you carry yourself today? What would you say yes to? What would you no longer tolerate? This is the essence of spiritual embodiment. You behave from the end, not toward it, from it. To act as though is not to lie. It is to align. You are not faking. You are faithfully mirroring the unseen truth. You are saying to the universe, "I believe so fully in the reality of my supply that I no longer require evidence. My action is the evidence." And the moment you act in this way, even subtly, you stir the invisible forces into movement. You show the law that you are no longer caught in the vibration of delay. You have arrived energetically at your destination. The world says, "Wait until you see it, then believe it." But spiritual law says, "Believe it and you shall see it." And even deeper still, act on your belief, and the form will rush to meet you. If you knew money was already on the way, would you stop worrying? If you truly believed divine supply was assigned to your name, would you still speak of a barely getting by? Would you still hoard, shrink, panic, or doubt? This is where transformation begins. You are no longer begging the law to work. You are working it. You are not asking for crumbs. You are preparing the table. You are not clinging to the past. You are standing in the future and saying, "This is who I am now." The person who lives in divine wealth is not reckless, but they are relaxed. They make decisions from freedom, not fear. They are generous because they know the source never runs dry. They listen to intuition rather than panic. They are unshaken by appearances because their reality is rooted in spiritual law, not surface illusion. When you act as though your supply is already manifested, you stop vibrating with lack. You stop attracting delays. You begin to draw to yourself the ideas, the people, the timing, and the opportunities that already exist for the version of you who is living in the fulfillment of your declaration. This acting is not theatrical, it's energetic. It shows up in subtle but powerful ways. You answer emails with confidence. You dress with intention. You stop postponing joy. You speak affirmatively, even when no one is listening. You give thanks for money not yet seen but already received in spirit. Gratitude becomes your signature. Certainty becomes your compass. There is no more proving, no more pushing, only allowing. Your posture changes because your belief has matured. You are no longer chasing results. You are abiding in truth.